Greetings, everyone. Father Jim here. Hope you're doing well on this Tuesday. It is the 12th day of March. Where is this month going? Anyway, as we move through this fourth week of Lent, I'm going to be reading from both of our readings today. Our first reading comes from the book of the prophet Ezekiel. And the angel brought me, Ezekiel, back to the entrance of the temple of the Lord. And I saw water flowing out from beneath the threshold of the temple toward the east. But the facade of the temple was toward the east, and the water flowed down from the right side of the temple, south of the altar. He led me outside by the north gate, and around to the outer gate facing the east, where I saw water trickling from the right side. Then, when he had walked off to the east with a measuring cord in his hand, he measured off 1,000 cubits, and had me wade through the water, which was ankle deep. He measured off another 1,000, and once more had me wade through the water, which was now knee-deep. Again he measured off 1,000, and had me wade. The water was up to my waist. Once more he measured off 1,000, but there was now a river through which I could not wade, for the water had risen so high it had become a river that could not be crossed except by swimming. He asked me, "Have you seen this, Son of Man?" Then he brought me to the bank of the river where he had me sit. Along the bank of the river I saw very many trees on both sides. He said to me, "This water flows into the eastern district down from the Arabah, and it empties into the sea, the salt waters, which make it fresh. Wherever the river flows, every sort of living creature that can multiply shall live, and there shall be abundant fish. For wherever this water comes, the sea shall be made fresh. Along both banks of the river, fruit trees of every kind shall grow. Their leaves shall not fade, nor their fruit fail. Every month they shall bear fresh fruit, for they shall be watered by the flow from the sanctuary, and their fruit shall serve for food, and their leaves for medicine." And turning to our gospel today comes from the Gospel of St. John, chapter 5, beginning with the first verse. There was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there was in Jerusalem at the sheep gate a pool called in Hebrew Bethesda, with 5 porticos. In these lay a large number of ill, blind, lame, and crippled. One man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been ill for a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. While I'm on my way, someone else gets down there before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your mat and walk." Immediately the man became well, took up his mat, and walked. Now that day was a Sabbath, so that the Jews said to the man who was cured, "It is the Sabbath, and it is not lawful for you to carry your mat." He answered them, "The man who made me well told me, 'Take up your mat and walk.'" They asked him, "Who is the man who told you, 'Take it up and walk'?" The man who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had slipped away, since there was a crowd there. After Jesus found him in the temple area and said to him, "Look, you are well. Do not sin any more, so that nothing worse may happen to you." The man went and told the Jews that Jesus was the one who had been made well. Therefore the Jews began to persecute Jesus, because he did this on the Sabbath. Well, I'm sure we all know that water is a necessary thing for life. In Ezekiel's vision of the new Israel in that first reading, he sees a stream flowing from the temple that will restore fertility to a land that was once arid. What starts off as a trickle grows into a mighty river with the power to make even salt water fresh. The trees along this river will grow fruit every month, and their leaves will provide medicine. Every sort of living creature shall multiply wherever the river flows. The river represents a return to Eden, and the temple is its source. In our gospel today, Jesus travels to the temple to celebrate a Jewish holy day, and while in Jerusalem, he visits a pool where many have gathered in hopes of being healed. Jesus singles out a man who has been ill for 38 years and asks him if he wants to be well. After the man explains that he has not been able to make it into the pool by himself, Jesus says to him, "Rise, take up your mat and walk." And immediately the man does as Jesus says. Jesus does not take him to the pool to be healed, but heals him with his words. Jesus is himself the bountiful, flowing, healing water of Ezekiel's prophecy. He's the living water from whom, if we drink, we shall receive eternal life. While he does not say this to the man here, he has already begun speaking of it. In the chapter of John's Gospel, just prior to this passage I read to you today, Jesus told the Samaritan woman that he could give her living water. He tells her, "The water I shall give will become a spring of water welling up to eternal life for the one who drinks it." Later on, Jesus will state in public, "Let anyone who thirsts come to me and drink." So we see in our readings today that Jesus is the source of life. As necessary as water is for biological life, so God is necessary for the life of the soul. And Jesus offers himself as our true food and drink every time we come to church, to Mass, in the Eucharist, sustaining us always on our journey toward eternal life. So let us continue to open up our hearts to always receive this healing refreshment in our lives all the time. Hope your Tuesday is going well as we continue to move forward through this second half of our Lenten journey. Let's keep praying for one another. God bless you and take care.